considered at all the idea you might not be back next year? What do you take there?
Have I considered it, or has it run through my mind?
Yeah.
There's just little moments, that you realize those things. I know that none of it is regret, none of it is remorse, none of it is second guessing. It's just I have so much faith in what we've built and what could be here, and especially there's already going to be so much transition in our league, which I think is a positive to stay constant. All the things we've done off the field, I know we want more wins. I want more wins. The wins will come. I think a lot about teams that were in this same situation a year ago. That I one of my closest friends in the Big Ten Conference was Mark D'Antonio. What they've done now with their program, what Mississippi State has done, what Notre Dame did. All these teams that had a dip down year, and now I didn't have the prior success. I get it, but what we took over, what we built, and what's coming back is a very exciting time.
Bret Bielema, one more game, or does he have more time?
Yeah, whichever reporter that was just went right in there.
What was the question?
You were not paying attention. The question was basically, have you considered at all the fact that you may not be coaching here next year?
Right.
And you know what? We've talked about this so many times. I feel like we're broken records on saying how much we like Bret Bielema and how that factors in. We do, and he's
Brett,
a great guy.
Fired, we got a big share for you right
Brett,
here.
Come hang out with us. I'm sure Brett has better things to do than that. But anyway, he's. I really do think he's been a great coach. There was a fan that tweeted me after their game this past weekend against Mississippi State who said, hey, maybe if there hadn't been so many injuries on this Arkansas team, they're decimated by injury, maybe Brett would have been in a better situation. And this was an Arkansas fan, by the way, so before you Arkansas fans out there that are, calling for Bret Bielema's job, there's something to that. But the one thing I would say to all that is that it still isn't good enough for this Arkansas program, and Brett knows that. I just wonder which coaches would be available for this job. And, maybe we're talking about Charlie Strong, for instance.
I think he would be great.
There's been the talk about Gus Malzahn. I don't know about that.
Oh, Gus Malzahn. I haven't heard that rumor.
Come on, you darn championship. But anyway, I wonder. Mike Norvell, he played at Central Arkansas. That he would be a great fit for that. But not as many Arkansas fans talk about him. But either way, we'll see.
A couple of the other big stories in the SEC, the Arkansas conundrum, A&M. I mean, these are jobs which people expect will come open. What is your best guess?
So you guys were talking on the TV only segment about Arkansas and about Lane Kiffin, and how you'd love to see Lane Kiffin go to Arkansas, and what AD in the SEC would hire Lane Kiffin. Well, Arkansas doesn't have an AD. But here's the thing about Lane Kiffin that I think is interesting, and I've been thinking about this the last few days. I don't know that he would get an SEC job this year. But if you look at it, how much have we talked about FAU? All of us. Me at SI, me on SiriusXM, you on your show. I was on SiriusXM yesterday. We talked about FAU for probably a solid 15 minutes. And I said, how often did we ever bring up FAU on this channel before Lane Kiffin was there? That's the Lane Kiffin effect. And if you have a job like Arkansas, like Texas Tech, like Oregon State, Lane Kiffin's going to make you relevant. Now, the fact that he's winning at FAU is interesting. Now, you also have to figure out, can he overcome what handicapped him at USC when he had kind of a Cadillac job and didn't do that well? That's a question only he can answer, and he's trying to. He's trying to say, in the Chris Lowe story, he says, being at Alabama was like getting an advanced degree. And I think you can look no further than Ed Orgeron at LSU as a guy who said, listen, I was this guy at Ole Miss, but I'm this guy now, and I can be better. And he seems to be having a pretty good first season.
Moving on from Lane Kiffin, let me ask you about Malzahn to Arkansas. What do you know? What do you think?
I don't know anything. I'll be honest with you there. If I'm Gus Malzahn and I look at that Auburn roster that's coming back, I would have an awfully hard time leaving. And I don't care how in tumult the athletic department is, don't know who your AD is going to be, all that stuff. That roster that he has coming back can win a lot of games. And I realize that Auburn is a very volatile coaching situation, that you're never really quite safe, that, heck, if he'd lost to Georgia and Alabama this year, that they might have thought about firing him. But it's such a good roster. It's a place where you're going to get paid. It's a place where we're going to let you pay assistants if you want to. I just don't see how you pass that up to go back to a place where it got a little crazy the last time you were on the staff there. Do you want that? I mean, at least don't use the phone if you decide to go back, because I don't know. I don't know if you want to go walk back into that craziness.
What about Arkansas?
You know, everything I had heard was that some of the big money people there wanted Gus. You know, obviously Gus's name is going to be hot again because he's in the middle of making a run at the playoff. The thing is, and, you know, with due respect to Auburn, he's been on the hot seat for about 2 years there on and off, and that is taxing. And, you know, he's going to have a new AD, and you always feel like at this point when you get this far into his regime where you've been on the hot seat and off and on again, you're always a 2-game losing streak away from somebody getting ready to pull the plug. You know, if he comes back to Arkansas where some of the big money people really want him, you want to feel wanted, you know, I could see that. I could see that happening, especially in this year of what's going to be almost complete chaos in the SEC on the coaching carousel.
Yeah, and then the Ole Miss still has an opening. That's been done since July. But and then if Mullen leaves, and certainly you'd have to think there's plenty of openings for him to go, then Mississippi State comes open, and then you just have this chaos. Last year we thought it might be crazy. It wasn't, but I would imagine, Bruce, you tell me, this all starts pretty quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, you already have two pretty huge jobs that are out there open, Florida and Tennessee. You know, you mentioned Ole Miss. I don't know if Ole Miss will go, you know, try to get Charlie Strong, or they go to get a Mike McIntyre, or maybe they go try Chad Morris. I don't know what Ole Miss does, but it's an interesting kind of slotting here of what coaches could be in play for which jobs. I mean, I could see Dan Mullen, at a bigger job. At the same time, you know, he's getting paid $4.5 million. They're gonna be very happy with him even if he wins 8 games in Starkville. Where if he goes to Knoxville, you know, they fired a guy who was winning 9 games back-to-back years, and they had him on the hot seat. So, you know, it's a very, very crazy dynamic right now in the SEC with this kind of feeding frenzy of all the money that's out there and all the high-paid guys, but also in part because of what the guy in Tuscaloosa is doing. We saw it with Les Miles, and obviously we're seeing it all over the conference now with all the frustration of some really good coaches who did really good jobs before they got into this league, and it's turned into a meat grinder.
Okay, this is a turnaround. We're doing a lot of really good things in this program. Our kids are working extremely hard. We're not winning games yet, but we will.
I am so damn happy and proud for you, seniors. Yeah. This is what we talked about. Great job holding together, showing unbelievable resolve when things weren't great. Let's go bowling, baby!
And John Shriven, in between those moments for Barry Odom, there was another with a pretty significant spark.
Well, it was that midpoint in the season when Coach Odom realized his team was on the cusp of a breakthrough, but he needed to do something drastic to shake things up. So during a team meeting, he pulled out a Gatorade bucket and printed off all the negative reminders of their first half of this season. Their record versus SEC opponents, how they were having their worst start since '92, even printed off all of their stats and his game plans, threw it all in the bucket. Well, he poured lighter fluid on top of it and lit it on fire. His quarterback, Drew Lock, told me it was an awesome display of what this team needed to do. They needed to have a fresh start and realize that if they went 1-0 in every game here on out, they'd be in the position they're in today, headed to a bowl game. Carter?
Hey, John, I love what he told us. He said, nobody else except the GA who was helping me knew that. We didn't even test it, but we were really hoping that we were able to close that lid and contain the fire. And that will trickle out of bounds, and Missouri will have it at the 35.
Effectively here early.
Second best offense in the SEC, 13th in the nation. Lock loads up over the ball. It's picked off. Andre Tolliver has the interception. And the senior corner brings it back to near midfield.
He ends up throwing it to a corner that's covering a guy going across the field. You're going to see it right here. Tolliver's following the over route. He ends up picking off the post throw to the other receiver.
The game started a week ago. Is coming up early and making big plays, giving short fields for your offense. Andre Tolliver.
Shoulder injury that nearly ended his career in October. And now here's Austin Allen. Another deep shot. And this time it's Jones. He holds it in inside the 25. Jordan Jones inside the 10, inside the 5. So he tosses it incomplete on first down. And then Jordan Jones on the receiving end of a 67-yarder on second down.
We talked about at the top of the game the big plays that Missouri's back end was susceptible to. Arkansas really wanted to be able to hit the deep shots, and they find one here early.
Austin Allen, play fake, Allen on the roll, trying to find the edge. Austin Allen is in, touchdown. Austin Allen on his senior day of the INT from the senior Tolliver. Couldn't hang on and win it. This week, 65-yarder sets up the 1-yard touchdown run. And these Hogs have again answered the call early. North Carolina with Drew Lock. And Roundtree will take it. And he is met as soon as he grabs it in the hole by Harris. Less than 15. That may have been that discussion. Roundtree, right side, and he is dropped by Dre Greenlaw, the junior.
This number 81 right here in the slot, the trip side.
Lock, time to throw. Everybody's covered, so Lock now is going to take off. Lock has to dump it and heaves it to the sideline, throwing it away on third down, and he took a big pop. And now Austin Allen, quick hitter to the outside, slant, complete. Perfectly diagnosed, AT. Lock's going to hand off. Witter only gets a couple to the 30. Greenlaw again on the stop.
Paul Rhodes has to be
11 plays, 8 of them on the ground, including 35 from Lock. 92 yards. Mizzou into the end zone. Touchdown. Tigers even at 7 in the battle line rivalry.
They're going to cover up close at the sticks.
Allen out of the gun. Slant caught. First down. Deion Stewart has the grab across the 40.
Great call. Getting some.
Play action now on first down. Austin Allen loads up. Deep shot. And it's caught inside the 15. Across the goal line. Touchdown. It's Jordan Jones again. He had the 65-yarder to set up the first TD. This one goes for 58 and a touchdown to put the Razorbacks back on top.
This is just a condensed formation, which gives a lot of room out on the side. But this is just speed on speed. Nice subtle move, but keep an eye to see whether or not he gets in here. Great effort, and he extends. I think they got this right. That's a touchdown. It was remarkably close.
122 yards and a TD. It stands on the board. Austin Allen, Jordan Jones. That makes it 14-7 Razorbacks. There's a different score there, wasn't it? Roundtree, after a gain of 3, Dijon Harris, the SEC's second leading tackler, has another here.
Missouri, it gives Arkansas a chance.
Lock almost throws another pick. That's tipped and incomplete. Sweet.
Here he is right here up the right side. He reads it and then bails and drops and basically turns into a linebacker. How about that for being heads up?
He looked right into the sun as well. As my old coach used to say, it's been there a billion years.
Latoni, one of the nation's best punters. Tolliver backs up, makes the grab at the 38. Tolliver has room. Andre Tolliver inside the 40, inside the 30. What a senior day for Andre Tolliver. An interception to set up a touchdown. And now Tolliver with a huge return in the punt game. Williams will take it on the left side. Williams with a big push. Shoving his way forward inside the 20. David Williams, the former
defender to us. Great job there.
Longest run of the day for Arkansas. 13 yards. So give it to Williams again. Shaking his way inside the 10. Reaching in. Touchdown. David Williams carries the load and carries the pigskin for another Arkansas touchdown.
Brown, explosive plays. You can say what you want about this Arkansas team and whether Brett Bielema will be back next year, but this team is still fighting for their head coach.
The Razorbacks are back in the end zone, 21-7. SEC single season record. drops it to Hall, and Mizzou, quick strike, makes it a 1 TD game again. Good talk about Drew Lock coming out. Big decision ahead for him. Play fake. Lock steps up, delivers another deep ball, incomplete, intended for Hall, and it's knocked away by Ramirez. Makes it 3rd and long. Pressure picked up. Lock tries to scramble and now heaves it to the end zone, incomplete.
Enos couldn't be happier.
Allen, 3rd game back with the shoulder injury. Play action. On the roll, Austin Allen flings complete across the 40-yard line. Patton has the grab and takes it to near midfield.
Those little sneaky buggers. Here he is back here on the backside of the ball. He's going to sneak his way out and get up in here. Watch the flow. Just does a nice job of selling the route. By the time he's picked up, it's another huge gain through the air for the Razorbacks.
33 on this one to Patton.
Minimizing the sack.
High backfield on 3rd and long. So max protect. Allen releases it. It's caught. Deion Stewart converting on 3rd and long. Another big one in the pass game for the Razorbacks. Deion Stewart. It's a.
Here he is right here. He comes into motion, Rick.
Scissors route. You're going to get an outside releasing, and he's going to run the post, and here comes the corner underneath him. Very difficult on the safety. Beautiful throw by Austin Allen. Dan Enos got to be giddy that he's got his signal caller back.
And 2:21 versus Mississippi State. Already passed it today. Williams will take it over the end zone again. Touchdown. His 2nd TD of the day for the senior from Philly. It goes for 22 in 2017. 2 plays that go 30+, and then Williams takes it in for 22. And Arkansas by 2 TDs again. So 2nd and 4 is Locke and Witter carry the Mizzou offense. Witter, that's his 16th carry. And Drew Lock is just 1 TD pass away from owning the SEC single-season record.
Enjoying this game.
It's 28-28, boys. We got a good one.
And there's Witter. Witter lost his mouthpiece but hung on to the football. Take it again. Look, crushed by Guidry. From the 25, first play of the 2nd half. And it's back into the hands of Jordan Jones. Jones slips away. He looked like he was bundled up in the backfield.
He wants to go one-on-one.
Instead, he'll fake it to Witter. Pressure. And Lock. Tipped up and dropped. And it's Harris who gets the sack on Drew Lock.
Dejon Harris just did an outstanding job in pursuit here of the quarterback. Because Lock was trying to make a big play. They call him Scooter.
Steps into the pressure and throws a pick. It's Tolliver who has it at the 5. Andre Tolliver has got 30. Tolliver tripped up at the 40-yard line with his 2nd pick of the game.
Tolliver just doing a great job. Here he is up at the top with the screen. Going to sink up. There was some late pressure on a green dog in his face, which allowed him to sink underneath that route. Great ball skills, man-to-man coverage. Breadbasket, but he's worrying about puncturing the defense and Pasa's offense.
3rd down, Roundtree, handoff, nothing there. Dejon Harris closes the hole in a hurry.
They threw a scissors route in a similar situation earlier.
Allen, deep shot, and it is Holden. Nice grab. Brandon Martin makes the catch on the side of the 50. Plus territory now.
Just a beautifully located ball away from the defender, but inside the out-of-bounds line.
Kind of conversations going on right now.
So here's the 3rd and long play. Allen looking underneath. He's going to take the check down. Williams slipping across the 50. Williams dives forward.
There you go, Rick. This is that situation.
4th and 3.
For the senior from Fayetteville, Austin Allen. Zips it, complete. What a grab by Stewart. it right in front of AC to convert on 4th down. Whaley will take it straight ahead, right side. Whaley delivers another blow to DeMarcus AC. 2nd down, Whaley's in the backfield behind Austin Allen. And he'll take it on the left side. Huge hole, Whaley trips up, but he keeps his feet all the way in with a touchdown. Devois Whaley from 28 yards to put Arkansas back on top. It's 2017, not what Arkansas wanted, but there's a trophy on the line and a chance for the Razorbacks to go out strong in 17. Regains the lead. Those waffles are paying off now for big number 81, the Missouri Tigers.
Left in his Arkansas career. And I don't know what those who are going to make the decision are going to be thinking about as we watch the return.
Got it.
Warren has it across the 20, across the 30. Here goes Warren, out of bounds at the 45. Williams will take it. Williams pushing, stretching across the 25. Austin Allen, long drop, setting up the screen. They got it on the right side. Williams stays on his feet. He's into the end zone. Touchdown, Arkansas.
That's what you do.
Last game with the Hogs, he has his 3rd touchdown, and Arkansas has the lead on Mizzou in the 4th. The SEC single-season record, and Jamon Moore there to help out his QB with some nifty work with the hands and the feet for a Mizzou touchdown. 87 points so far, nearing 150 snaps in the game. Stewart on the edge with a block, and it's Martin who had the big grab on the last play, throwing a block this time for Stewart. Kick the game winner. So the 42-yarder is easily good. 45 all between Missouri and Arkansas.
Long distance touchdown throw.
He talked about how good Missouri is with the big plays.
Winner drop. That's Bijan Jackson, the senior whose day began with a successful marriage proposal. Bijan Jackson with 9 seconds. McCann's field goal is easily good. Missouri grabs the lead with 5 seconds showing. 48-45. Brett Bielema said this week, scores are a great thing. They represent the tough times you've been through and what you've persevered.
Talk about a toasty hot seat going into this game for Brett Bielema, head coach of Arkansas. Razorbacks facing Missouri. There's Bielema. What can he do to get his team going? Would it be in time? Doubt it. David Williams from 22 yards out. Arkansas would go up 28-14, but the ensuing Missouri possession home. Drew Lock finding Emmanuel Hall. Great play, 56-yard touchdown. Mizzou within 7. And Brett Bielema not pleased of what's going on. He sees it coming after an Arkansas 3-and-out. Mizzou in the red zone. And Arkansas bites on the play action. And that left, Albert Okwa-Ebunam wide open.
Good one.
Blocked with his 41st TD pass of the season. Thank you. At game's tied. In the 4th, Arkansas trying to stay alive. They're down 3 suddenly. Austin Allen finding Williams on the screen pass. And he'll get into the end zone from 24 yards out. So Arkansas takes the lead again. Nobody panic. Next, Mizzou possession. Lock again goes to work. Drew Lock to Jamon Moore. Double coverage. Somehow holds it in for the touchdown. Arkansas fans, they are like, no. They didn't love this one. Can you blame them? Moore appears to get away with a slight push-off. Mizzou back in front, 45-42. Uh-oh, Brett. After Arkansas tied the game at 45, Mizzou would take it down the field. And Tucker McCann, 19-yard field goal try. Could this be the end of Arkansas and Brett Bielema? Wow. Mizzou wins it. Bielema dismissed by the Arkansas athletic director when he arrived in his office.
Without a doubt, unequivocally, no. When I made the decision to go, there was a lot of factors that went into it, but one of the biggest factors was to try to do something that I really wanted to do. Chance to move to a new town with a new bride. One of the greatest things that's come out of this is I have a beautiful daughter who forever will be born in Fayetteville. But I am better today than I was 5 years ago. I know that. I definitely, obviously, want to coach again. My only wish is I wish that the people that ultimately pulled this trigger, I wish I would have known who they were or been around them a little bit. I wish they could see how we work and how we do things and the emphasis and the entire product that we put out there, both on the field and off the field.
I mean, that's got to be tough. You go in your office after, awful loss and you're fired. To coach in the SEC, you must win in SEC games. And that is just something that Bielema could never do with the Razorbacks. Arkansas was 11-29 in conference games under Bielema, compared to 18-5 against all other conferences. They were outscored by over 350 points in SEC games, and the defense allowed almost 34 points per game.
Good info?
No.
So with Bielema out, there are 4 vacancies now in the SEC. Tennessee fired Butch Jones about 2 weeks ago. Florida fired Jim McElwain back in October. Former Ole Miss head coach Hugh Freeze resigned amidst a personal scandal back in July. Matt Luke's the interim there. The list could get even longer with Kevin Sumlin in some jeopardy. All right, Ed Aschoff is on board with us now for this college coaching jobs fair. If you have the answer to this, I'll be impressed. Do you have an answer for Arkansas yet?
I don't have the answer right now, but I do know that the biggest name on Arkansas's list is Auburn coach Gus Malzahn, and that might sound crazy to a lot of people considering what he's done for the Tigers, but in talking with people close to him, if he were to lose to Alabama in the Iron Bowl on Saturday, that could open the door for him and Auburn to kind of find a way to mutually part ways, and Auburn to reevaluate its program and figure out what direction it wants to go, and Gus Malzahn to find a place where he feels like he's really appreciated. Also consider defensive coordinator at Clemson, Brent Venables, Chad Morris at SMU, and Mike Norvell at Memphis was a guy whose name was high on a lot of lists early on in the coaching carousel, so he's also someone to consider at Arkansas.
The heart that they have is there, and will be there for the next guys.
Topped by the Tigers and shown the door, Arkansas head coach Brett Bielema is fired moments after losing the season finale. We have team coverage as the 5-year Bielema era comes to a close.
5 years with a few highlights and several recent frustrations leads to the firing of Razorback head football coach Brett Bielema tonight, moments after the season ended. Thank you for joining us. I'm Craig O'Neill here with Hayden Balgavy.
Now, we knew the change would be coming. We did not expect this change to come so soon after that last-second loss to Missouri up in Fayetteville. The 47-year-old head coach greeting his seniors as they left the field. The Hogs dropping yet another game in which they had a lead in the fourth quarter. Mizzou hitting a game-winning field goal with 5 seconds left to take it 48-45. It pushed the Hogs to 4-8 on the season.
Now we have team coverage of this tonight with Taylor McGregor, Rob Evans, and our analyst Jim Harris all up in Fayetteville after a busy night. Guys?
Yeah, during the end of that game, Jim and I were sitting in the press box, and he said, is there a more Brett Bielema era game than the way this Missouri game ended today, with Arkansas jumping out to that early lead and then it coming down to the final wire, Missouri kicking that field goal to ultimately win the game. As Hayden mentioned, a lot of people didn't expect it to come this quickly after the game. You mentioned in our Hog Zone show before the game that you did expect it to come soon, but were you expecting it this soon?
No, I mean, I was shocked, and you knew my reaction to it, but having a little time to, comprehend it, to digest it all, and listen to Julie Cromer Peoples, I kind of get, they needed to let him know, let him talk to his players, shake their hands, let them all get a good cry out before everybody hit the road.
Yeah, we were walking up to the set after the game when we got the news, and Rob actually called me and was the one who told me the news. So, Rob, from your perspective, what was it like down there?
We were sitting in the press room waiting for Coach to come in, and there's always a cooling down period. But before Coach came in, a gentleman came in, I didn't recognize him, and he said there will be a 7:30 or 3:30 7:30 press conference, and everyone's like, "What are you talking about?" And then he handed out pieces of paper, and it said Brett Bielema fired as head coach, and it was absolutely shocking. There wasn't a word that was spoken for a few minutes there. We're like, what's going on? We tweeted it out. We went ahead and there was just this disbelief that the timing, we just didn't understand. This is what we didn't, we did not really, the timing is really what it was, and this is what Brett sounded like after the news.
I am better today than I was 5 years ago. I know that. Now, I've had to take some Pepto-Bismol along the way and some sleepless nights, or however you want to say it. It's been tough, because we care. I tell our players all the time, man, if you don't care, it doesn't matter, and I know they care. I know the heart that they have is there and will be there for the next guy. So hopefully, I think everybody else will agree. I think probably why it took so long for them to do what they did is because we've done some really good things.
Yeah, so after the game, like we mentioned, everybody kind of knew this was coming, but the timing of it was uncertain. Julie Comer-Peoples addressing the media about an hour and a half after the game ended, and she was asked as to why the timing, why now, and here's what she had to say.
It was important to me that we provide Coach Bielema an opportunity to share the news with his players rather than taking the chance that they would hear the news on social media or by some other avenues while they were spread throughout the region enjoying the weekend with their families.
It is important also to note that Paul Rhodes has been named the interim coach. She said she'll be having a meeting tomorrow with him and the rest of the coaching staff at 10 a.m. So until then, we won't know a ton of what it's going to look like moving forward. But she also said that she is conducting a search. She is not hiring a committee, but she herself trusts the process. She knows the market, and she's going to begin the search, guys. So now it's just a waiting game to see who the next signal caller is. Hayden?
Interesting set of developments, and not only for the administration in Fayetteville, but also for the fans who went from disappointment to surprise in a short time this evening, Hayden.
Well, and that's the thing, and if you turned off the game, maybe headed out for your Friday night, you may have actually missed all this news start to develop.
No kidding.
All right, Mark, and yesterday, as soon as Arkansas lost to Missouri in the immediate aftermath, Brett Bielema was fired. What's the direction? What's the Razorbacks plan right now?
Well, I think Arkansas will definitely focus its search on Auburn's Gus Malzahn. He's an Arkansas native, former Hogs offensive coordinator. He has 3 years left on his contract at Auburn that pays him about $4.7 million annually. Talked to somebody close to Malzahn last night. They say if Arkansas comes calling, Auburn's going to have to decide whether it's time to marry or divorce with Gus.
All right, Mark Schlabach reporting from Atlanta. Mark, thank you very much. And, I think how happy that marriage or divorce would be might have a lot to do with what happens in the game between Alabama and Auburn this afternoon. Mark mentioned the Gus Malzahn situation, which really seems to, if there is one, which seems to be fascinating. Gus said this week, he said, everybody brings this up. I'm trying to win the darn SEC West. Yeah. And so what do you think about this this situation? Is this legit? Would it be the right move for either side?
I think it's interesting is how much this always changes at this place. I mean, when you see Gus Malzahn the last couple years, the last 3 seasons, he's been under 500 in the SEC, and a lot of people are like, we want to get rid of Gus. And now, this year, obviously, they had one of these Auburn seasons where they turn it around. But last 4 seasons, and now they don't want to get rid of Gus. They want to keep Gus. Right. So if you're the coach and you're here, and it's that kind of volatile thing that's up and down, is that someplace you want to be, or do you want to go home and go back to Arkansas? I think it's legit.
Maybe what Schlabach said is the operative word. Commit to the marriage, what they want, make everybody happy. So we'll see where the coaching carousel spins. If there's news on Chip Kelly, we'll give it to you just as soon as we find out.
Hey, but I'm going to tell you this. I want to say 2 things.
Go ahead.
I don't like being serious because sports should never be serious. What Arkansas did to Brett Bielema, firing him as he's walking off the field, that's a travesty. Yeah. I want to say that.
Yeah, the school said, to be fair, the school said that they did it off the field, but Brett said no, they didn't waste much time.
That's ridiculous.
Hey, let's make some pictures.
Friday saw Missouri making SEC history in a win over the Arkansas Razorbacks, 48-45. They are the first team ever to start 0-4 in the SEC and finish 4-4. They won 6 games in a row since their loss to Georgia, and Barry Odom has done one of the more commendable coaching jobs in the country this year, putting an exclamation point on it certainly Friday. And Drew Lock continues to tattoo his his name on the record books. Locke tossed for 5 touchdowns last night, bringing his total to 43 on the season. That's a new SEC record for most touchdown passes in a year. And guys, he's got another game left. But on the other side of this one, a sad day for Brett Bielema, who was informed following the game in his game day office that he would be let go as Razorbacks head coach. Interim athletic director Julie Cromer-Peoples informed him of the decision the school has made, saying they had not been able to sustain the success that's expected there. Bielema spoke about uncharted territory for him following this news.
The biggest thing I really take from my experience here is I've always kind of heard and never been let go in my entire life, so this is a first for me. But I've had quite a few coaches that moved on. They always kind of say, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, you want to leave the place better than when you got here, and I know that's happened. There's no doubt. I know we want more wins. I know we all want this, and we're on a steady climb and ran into a speed bump that we just never really able to get back out of. We were on a steady win cycle with 3, and then to go to 6, and then with 7, and then to 8, and then looked like we could possibly get to 8, 9, 10, and didn't play well down the stretch a year ago. One of the greatest things that's come out of this is I have a beautiful daughter who forever will be born in Fayetteville. But I am better today than I was 5 years ago. I know that.
It's always tough to see people lose their jobs. I know it's a business, but it's still tough to see. Paul, what's your reaction to Bielema being dismissed?
Well, my first reaction is how he handled it. He handled it with so much class and grace. I don't think I could have handled it that way. And I think in the end, it was the right call. It appeared to be done rather classlessly at the end, right after the game. Perfect world. Probably should have been done earlier in the week. Let him coach the last game. But in the end, they had to make a change. He did not get it done. He had 5 years. He didn't fail because he inherited an absolute disaster. He made it better. But the next guy will be in much better shape than Brett was.
Paul, I agree with you. I think he handled it with so much class, and kudos to Brett Bielema for the way he handled it, because you don't see that a lot in college football right now, and I think he handled it with so much class, and I'm proud of him for that. And if you go back a couple of years, and you remember when they're playing Alabama and in the rain, and they had a chance to beat Alabama, if they get that done, I don't think he's fired today. But they could never get over the hump. They could never find a way to win those big games, and that's why right now he's out of a job.
I think as you look at this conference, the coaching decisions are being made based on how your success level is within this conference, because you're competing to get out of this conference in order to have a chance to win a championship. So for a lot of these coaches who are great guys and do a tremendous job, at the end of the day, it boils down to wins and losses. And Brett just didn't have enough wins. And that's the bottom line. Great guy, a good coach, had a successful time at Arkansas, like Paul said, brought this program back. But at the end of the day, it's wins and losses. And that's what either keeps you there or gets you gone.
This is really crazy right now, guys. I mean, I don't think there's any secret about that. Tim, how important is it right now for this conference to get to the next precipice of all of this?
I think this is the biggest offseason for the SEC in the last 20 years. You look at all the coaches that are fired, and you look at the few great names of head coaches in college football in the SEC. You talk about Nick Saban, Dan Mullen, now number 2, and who else is there? Who else is in the SEC? Back in the day when I started in the SEC, Philip Fulmer, national champion. Les Miles, national champion. Urban Meyer, national champion. Steve Spurrier, national champion. They're gone. We don't have them anymore. So ADs and presidents of universities, if you want to keep the SEC at number 1, you better go spend some money and get a big-time coach, or the SEC won't be number 1 anymore.
Boy, fired up.
Woo!
Here's the deal. There's no guarantee.
Well, you think about it. Look at the decisions that have been made. Look at the Derek Dooleys and you go from Florida to Tennessee to throughout this conference, and it's been miss. So if SEC wants to be number 1, you got to start hitting.
The problem is there's no guarantees when you come into this conference. For most coaches that come into the SEC, it's a totally different level of football than they've been playing. And the ones that grasp that and understand that as quickly as possible are the ones that usually have success. You look at Nick Saban. When he came out of Michigan State, I promise you, nobody in Baton Rouge who Nick Saban was when he came. But it was an immediate impact that he made on that program, which gave people the confidence that he could get the job done. A lot of these guys that's going to come into this conference, not only do you talk about the pressure of the fan base, you talk about the pressure of the level of play in this conference, when you're talking about the most guys getting drafted to the NFL every year, the competition is uber. And now you look across the country, there was a time where we could say the SEC is dominant in winning games and players. You look across the country, there are great coaches in all of these conferences now that are having success.
In other conferences, they're spending money to go get people.
Absolutely.
Remember a few years ago, everybody's talking about Big Ten is done. They'll never be good again. They're too slow. What do? They spend money. They go get Urban Meyer. They get Jim Harbaugh, and they get Coach Franklin. And Big Ten is now back up near the top. Spend money. Go get some coaches.
Well, first of all, I think they are spending money. All these guys are making a small fortune. I just think athletic directors are being reactionary. They're hiring what they think are hot names as opposed to going out and hiring solid coaches. And this is not a surprise. I know none of us here think it, but if you're sitting at home, this was expected. A little bit of surprise in some of these areas, but the coaching in this league is way, way down. We talked about it all during the offseason. And, Tim, you laid out all the guys out who are no longer gone. And it's hard to replace these guys with just going to the Yellow Pages and hiring a hot coach.
But also one thing that's putting pressures on ADs is early signing day. Now you can't wait to go get someone because half of your recruits are signing in December. So you have to find someone quick. I think because of that, they're making quick decisions that aren't always the wisest.
You have to also decide, listen, we may not win this offseason, but we'll win long term. So just don't grab a guy coming down the street because you're going to save a couple of recruits.
And by the way, all of these coaches and maybe new names that will be in this conference will have to contend with Nick Saban, which, as we all know, is one of the biggest challenges in college football right now.